A weekend of fresh revelations around the release of the Lockerbie bomber Abdelbasset Al-Megrahi, following Saturday's admission by Britain's Justice Minister that trade with Libya had influenced discussions over Mr Al-Megrahi's release. The Sunday newspapers go further. Perhaps most interesting are reports of a clandestine meeting headed by then Prime Minister Tony Blair at this private London club in December 2003. Present were members of the British, American and Libyan secret services. At the time, Mr Al-Megrahi had served just 3 years of a life sentence, but already it's claimed his possible future release was part of discussions here. Just 3 days after that meeting, Mr Blair announced Libya was giving up its nuclear weapons program. The question is, what might have been promised in return?
It shows Tony Blair's understanding of the Libyan psychology. It shows that Tony Blair looked at British interests in the long term. Once the Libyans are rehabilitated, world accepts them as trade partners. Our British companies should be there first, before the Italians, before the French. It was a matter of time before Megrahi puts an appeal, open the files again, perhaps he would be set free, plant the idea into the Libyans' heads that he might be released.
Libya's return from international pariah status saw its leader, Colonel Gaddafi, reinvented as world statesman. It brought the lifting of sanctions and put Libya's considerable oil and gas potential within reach of British energy giants like BP. Britain was also able to build lucrative ties with Libya in the arms trade, with recent contracts in the multi-millions. The suggestion Tony Blair may have had a hand in early talks over Al-Megrahi's release will not ease the pressure on Gordon Brown. The Prime Minister insists there was no deal.
It is these concerns, security and terrorism, not oil or commercial interests, that have been the dominant feature of our relationship.
Yet his own Justice Minister seems to contradict that. And there are claims that medical advice on Mr Al-Megrahi's life expectancy was paid for by Libya. True says one of the doctors involved, but they were not hired to advise the Scottish government in its decision to release him.
They wanted help to try and ascertain the real prognosis of Mr Megrahi. And my suggestion was to get 3 doctors to go and come up with their views, and that's exactly what happened. There was no pressure whatsoever from the Libyans.
Nevertheless, the day's claims will add to fury in the United States over the release, and in the week to come to suspicions in Britain of a government conspiracy to exchange a dying man's freedom for trade. Jonah, Al Jazeera, London.